proposition tried to claim to us that the government has one incentive to industrialize in rural areas, and that was because there were people there. That is why rural areas have to stay there. But the reason that is fundamentally wrong is if their characterization about how there is so much overpopulation in cities, that there are so many slums, why would the government be more incentivized to industrialize in rural areas when there are people suffering in cities where they drastically need to industrialize? That principle was lost. Two questions for the House today. First, who gets better development? And second, what the principle looked like in this debate. They first tried to tell us that there were massive slums in the cities and that there were infrastructural development issues. First, we reject this on the premise by saying that it will be significantly better for us at the point where people do move to these cities. Because when you don't allow people to move into the cities, you never have the capacity to change it all. Because now you just have those some slums growing, but it's the same people in the city. The slums never change. Nothing ever changes. But you need new people to come in. You need new people to provide jobs so that the cities can actually function properly, so that the slums don't continue to get bigger, so that new perspectives, new ideas can come into these cities. We're fundamentally better there. But second, they're more incentivized to go for better jobs because people in rural areas tend to probably live on farms. What this means is that they probably don't have lucrative jobs. That industrialization was never going to happen in those rural areas because they were already self-sustaining. So that means nothing was going to happen if people from rural areas didn't move into cities. So that's why it's imperative that people from rural areas were given the opportunity to move to cities where they can seek lucrative jobs, where the economy can actually benefit. But third, even if this poverty was going to be symmetric on either side of the house, it didn't matter if people were limited or not, the poverty was going to exist either way. So that's why we would say you're still significantly better, other than being in poverty in a rural area, than to be in poverty in an urban area, but still have the chance of seeking a new job that could benefit you and your family. That person in a rural area, that individual, is marginally better by moving to an urban place. But second, they tried to tell us that there was going to be economic saturation. Three responses here. First, when you are in a developing job, you need more job opportunities. What that means is that you need people to move into the cities to actually fill these jobs. There isn't going to be an oversaturation in the job market because as a developing country, there are going to be jobs that constantly arise because you're constantly building new things. That you need construction workers, you need people to work in banks, you need people to work in the food industry. These jobs still exist because you are in a developing nation. It's not stagnant, therefore you will need people to fill these jobs. But second, the better job prospects mean that the economy is significantly better because you have more money flowing around, because if you have more people spending, you have more people working, the economy is significantly better. But third, even if we assume that what they say is true, those in urban areas are still significantly better because what that means is that people in urban areas will eventually develop, they'll get so much better than the people in rural areas who never got the chance to be able to go there. They're significantly worse, they're stricken with poverty, it's unfair for them. Now second, they talked about social development. First, we say that crime won't increase, and this is just a general assertion that's contingent on their idea of poverty, which we already disproved. But second, that people are looking for work doesn't correlate to crime. Just because people might necessarily be poor doesn't mean you can just assume they're going to revert to crime. Now let's look at the principle here. They first tried to tell us that people have a false perception of these cities. Three responses here. First, that their perception is actually valid and it's not false as they tried to claim. That people actually do know how to weigh it up because when they're moving to an urban area, they're actually weighing up, is their life going to be better? And at the point where their lives are at stake, we say that they're going to be able to weigh it up properly. But second, they're going to be significantly better in these urban areas because even if it's poverty on both sides, they still have better opportunities to get a better job at the urban areas rather than staying in the rural area where nothing changes, where the country that's supposed to be developing isn't developing. But third, the backlash will still significantly exist because people, regardless of if you tell them that a legislation is going to be passed, those people in rural areas will think that they deserve to be able to go to urban places. That backlash will exist. That's going to be significantly worse because now the government is undermined. They have less of a capacity to actually industrialize and to develop. Now, they tried to tell us last that there's a government duty. Free responses here. First, that this is a complete violation of their human rights. They deserve to be able to go wherever they think, even if it's marginally worse for them. But second, their lives are still significantly better at the point where they're moving to an urban area because it allows them to give them a better chance at life than staying stagnant. But third, they never gave us a real response on the cultural reasons and mechanisms behind why a person might actually want to move there. Therefore, we're significantly better.